Before we even get started, tell me a little bit about your prognosis, what you've been going through, and how you're managing the day to day.
So this is my second recurrence. So I was originally diagnosed in 2013 with breast cancer. My kids were 5 and 7 at the time, and I went through surgery and radiation. I did not do chemo at the time. And then I was on some medication for 7 years. And then unfortunately in 2022, I was re-diagnosed. And my disease changed a little bit over time. It kind of morphed, and I became a little bit of a unicorn. And I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer, which is not something that's extremely common. And so I went to MD Anderson in Texas because they have an inflammatory breast cancer center. And so they took the lead on my cancer for my second go round. I did do chemo, I did surgery, and I did radiation. And a lot of my treatment, unfortunately, was out of town because of the situation. And then I thought everything was good, and I had finished almost 2 years of my maintenance medication. And my oncologist said, there's a circulating tumor DNA test that I would like to run on you, and just make sure that everything looks good before we officially take you off your maintenance medication. And to be honest, we weren't expecting anything to pop up, and we were all really surprised when there was active cancer cells. So one test led to another, and I do have mets on my lungs at this time. And so I am undergoing chemotherapy again, and I go next week back to MD Anderson for a follow-up and scans, and then we will see how things are progressing. And if I can stay on the treatment that I'm on, then I will. And if it's not producing the results that we had hoped for, then we will switch to something different.
Very cool. Do you have such a positivity to you? First of all, we will be saying prayers for you all this week and next week because I think that's a real big decision coming up in your life that it's either going to make you smile really big or just say, what's next? You're always positive. Every time I see you, you always have a smile. How do you maintain that?
To be perfectly honest, I feel like my cancer diagnosis is such an inconvenience. I have so many things that I would rather be doing, and places to go, people to see, kids to participate in their activities, and this just really cramps my style.
Oh, I love that you just said that. You're right. It's getting in the way of life, and you need to eradicate it from your life. You poor thing.
Mother's Day has always been just a day of relax for mom and the kids to pamper mom. But since going through cancer for the third time now, Mother's Day makes me appreciate my mom so, so much. My mom is the example of selflessness and all about her family. She has been my rock through the entire 12, 13 years that I've been going through this. And she has taken care of me post chemo, post surgery. She's taken care of my kids to keep their life normal. She's traveled with me back and forth to Texas. She's stayed with me in Texas for weeks on end. Even when I was going through treatment down south, she stayed with me down there. And something that most people don't know is right as I was getting done with treatment for my second diagnosis, as we were finishing up treatment in Texas, my mom got diagnosed with uterine cancer. And so we rolled right from my treatment into hers, and the roles kind of reversed because she had been caring for me, and then I became her caregiver. I mean, my dad was amazing and definitely partook, but her and I shared an even more special bond because you don't understand cancer 100% unless you have gone through it. And she had watched me go through it. And as a parent, I can't imagine what that's like. But then on the flip side, she claims I taught her so much. And I don't really know how, but she claims that she was able to get through cancer treatment because she had watched me go through it and she knew that she could do it.
What is your mom's name?
My mom's name is Margaret George.
Oh my gosh, she sounds like a lovely lady. Is she okay now? Is she past her battle?
She is. She is doing really well, and all of her scans are coming clear. And she just had a knee replacement surgery, and she said, I have to be better by the time you go to Texas. I have to be able to run through the airport with you because she doesn't want to miss out on anything.
And she sounds adorable, and that is such a blessing that you have her, but that she also has you. And to hear that you encouraged and taught her how to have tenacity to get through a diagnosis, that's quite beautiful. That's amazing, actually.
And I really didn't feel like I was doing anything special. I was just going through the motions, but she claims that it was helpful to her.
But you knew, and you knew what to expect, and you knew how to care for her. During all of this, what has kept you grounded? Grounded as a person, as a mother, as a wife, as an employee? What kept you grounded through your diagnosis?
I think that I just don't feel like there's a time limit. And I just get up each day and go about my business. Some days are better than others. And some days are definitely pajama days and I lay on the couch. But for the most part, I get up and do what I need to do. For example, this morning my son had oral surgery, and so I ran him there, came home and worked a little bit, met with you, and then I'll go back and pick him up, and then I have to finish payroll before chemo tomorrow. So I don't know. I just keep doing what I need to do.
You're amazing. You're a superwoman.
I
Seriously.
don't know about that. I just don't want my kids to be burdened by any of this. I want them to just be able to continue on with normal life. And so I have to just keep going with normal life myself.
Love that. I totally agree with that though too. I was the same way. I just didn't really want this to be the negative impact of my children's life. And so I almost hid it from them. And I wish I would not have because I think they probably would have learned a lot more. But I was trying to protect them and we all do that. But they've since come back to me and said, we wish we were more involved. And I just didn't want them to see the sacrifice, I guess, or whatever it was that we do when we go through something like that. What are the little things, the moments, the words that have meant the most to you from your kids and husband during your journey?
You know, when I hit my 5 year mark of being cancer free the first time, I kind of didn't think anybody would remember because we were getting back to normal living. And on the 5th year anniversary, they completely surprised me with a necklace. And I was just shocked because it's always going to be a date that I remember, but I didn't realize that they would remember. And come to find out, my husband had actually contacted my mom and said, I know the 5 year mark is coming up and I want to do something special, but I don't know what to do. So it really meant a lot that they remembered the date as well.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. We did a little celebratory time as well. Brett and I went on a vacation, and it was so much, like, just so much relief in thinking, oh my gosh, we just did that. I just went through that, and it was pretty cool. It's definitely one of those things that when people remember, oh, it's 5 years. How are you doing? Where are you at mind-wise? Because you almost um I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I live around that 5 year marker as being like the day of gold or reaching some achievement where it's just I can breathe easier. And that's yeah, that's how I'm at. Are there any family traditions, old or new, that hold extra meaning for you now that you've had something so life-threatening?
You know, we don't really have family traditions around Mother's Day, but the holidays, we always do the holidays. We celebrate all of them. I love to decorate. And so I definitely make that a huge part of our holidays. And I have a 3 tier tray in my kitchen that every holiday I decorate. and then the rest of the house just for the main holidays. But we don't really have anything specific for Mother's Day. I don't know that any Mother's Day has ever been the same, aside from the fact that mom doesn't cook and mom doesn't clean.
Oh, those are the best two things, though. No cooking and no cleaning. I love that. Although I always wake up on Monday after Mother's Day and I'm like, this is a messy place right now. What's going on? It's because,
No.
what does a perfect Mother's Day look like? Will your daughter be here this year? Is she still at college?
She's still away at school, but I would just love to hear from both of my kids. I would love to have a clean house without having to nag or bribe anyone, and some yummy food that I don't have to cook.
Oh, I love that. That would be perfect. Do you do breakfast in bed? Do you sleep in? Do any of those things come into the dynamic?
Usually on Mother's Day, they kind of let me do whatever I want. Some years I get to sleep in, some years I get a pedicure. Last year, I think I floated in the pool for hours upon hours. So they definitely celebrate me and they make it my day, even though there's no one thing that we do every year. They definitely do celebrate me.
Do you still have, when your children were little and they would make special things in school, little gifts for Mother's Day? Do you still carry all of those keepsakes?
Oh, I definitely do. Their handprints and footprints and the popsicle stick flowers with their pictures on them and the little macaroni necklaces, all of it. I kept all of it.
I love it. I do too. And it's hanging in our closet. And all of the time, my husband is like, why do we have this macaroni necklace in here? And I'm like, well, Leighton made that when he was like 4. So I'm never giving that away. And so now he knows not to throw that kind of stuff away or he I don't think I have a lot of pottery as well. Like they just in school would mold clay and so I use them as my little ring holders or something. But is there anything else that stands out for you from a keepsake from Mother's Day that you've kept all these years that you reminisce over?
Both kids made me necklaces, and one my daughter made was a heart, and I believe it was made out of some kind of dough. And I still have that one hanging in my closet. And then my son made me a circular one, and I don't wear them, but I do have them hanging in my closet. And so when I'm getting ready in the morning, I always see them. And I have some pictures on my dresser in the closet. And my absolute favorite one was from the night that my son was born. And it's a picture of all four of us. And that's when our family became complete. And it's a very candid picture. I mean, I had just had a baby, my daughter's in her pajamas, but that's the most precious picture. And I think my favorite ever that I have.
Beautiful. That is really beautiful. And those are just little keepsakes that you can reflect back on always. I'm always thinking like what's touched me the most in motherhood. And I think for me, it's a lot if I could get more time with all of our kids. We have a big family, but I'd love more time with them. That would be awesome. What have your children taught you through the process of cancer that maybe you didn't expect?
I think they each taught me something different. My daughter has taught me that kids are way more capable and willing to step up and help when the opportunity is given. I had a lot of mom guilt about it in the beginning because I felt like she was being forced to grow up too fast and help and do things. But now looking back, I really think it's benefited her. A perfect example that I can think of is we would do the meal kit deliveries when I was going through chemo the first time, and she was 7 or 8 during that diagnosis. And she used to love helping me pick the meals online. And then when they would come, she wanted to help make them. And that was great because she would follow the step-by-step instructions and learn to cook. Obviously, my husband or I or my mom were there to help, but she loved doing that. And then my second diagnosis, she was 16 at the time, and she could drive. And she would meal prep and plan and go to the grocery store. And we live right by Trader Joe's. And she would come home with the groceries and tell me, this is what we're going to have this week. And I mean, it was great. And now at 19, she's in college, and it's so fun to hear that her and her roommates cook together. And in her house, she has a meal plan on the refrigerator. And so they take turns each night cooking a meal. And sometimes there's three of them, and sometimes there's 10 of them. But something that was so small at the time, I really feel like it has helped her, and she doesn't seem to mind, and it's helped her in her adulthood.
I
So
love
it's kind of funny.
that is really amazing. How did you get over the mom guilt?
Therapy, talking to other moms who were going through cancer at the same time.
Right?
And that was extremely helpful because we could be real, and they taught me that you just have to let things go, that pick your battles, and there's some things that are more important. Being there for your kids and providing a stable environment and trying to keep their lives normal was more important than making sure that you were making a full meal every night, or if it was a bean and cheese burrito night.
I love bean and cheese burrito nights. Those are the easiest. Those
They
resources
are.
that you found, did you find most of them through cancer community support?
You know, I met some of them through cancer support community, and then I met some of them in chemo actually, because I would sit in there for hours and they would sit in there. And the first couple times we would kind of just wave and then started conversations. And you know, it's amazing to connect with other women who are literally walking in your shoes, and things that you can't necessarily say to the civilian people, we call them, because as much as they mean well and they want to help and participate, you can't say certain things to them because they just don't understand. So having these other moms that we could text memes back and forth and, you know, vent and complain about different things. And oh my gosh, it was just invaluable. And we still text and communicate multiple times a week.
I was going to ask that. I love that. I love hearing that too. I know support systems are so instrumental in healing, but just a relief of all of this grief that you're feeling, and you just really touched on that beautifully. Thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. How do you find hope or purpose in the midst of everything? You have had a lot on your plate. I feel like you just hit it head on and go right into it. And it's beautiful to see. And I also know the other side when you're in those dark moments, probably. And where do you find hope when you're there?
There's definitely dark moments, but I have a strong faith in God, and I have an extremely supportive family and a small group of friends, and they keep me going. If I'm quiet, they send a text, how are things going? And I think when people are quiet, that's when they need to be reached out to even more. But I have faith in my doctors, and I am on the board with the cancer support community, and I interact with other doctors and oncologists, and I hear the positive things coming down the pipeline. And I really have faith in my team and in God. And I don't believe that this is the end for me. I just don't let myself believe that, I think.
Love that. What a great lesson. That is something many people could take, not just mothers. If you had one thing that you wanted to share a piece of advice on to other moms who are just starting this journey, what would you offer them? What would you say?
To be gentle with themselves and to take things one day at a time. When you get too far ahead, it becomes extremely overwhelming and daunting. And Going through a cancer diagnosis is an emotional roller coaster. And then parenting is also a roller coaster. So when you combine those two together, it's challenging. And some days you feel better and you're more able to cope with what life throws at you. And some days you just need to check out and say, I'm just gonna have a me day, and maybe it's a couch potato day, maybe it's a bean and cheese burrito day, whatever you have to do. But just take it one day at a time and try to find the positive and focus on that. And there will be negative and there will be tough times, but if you can just not let that overwhelm you or burden you and just know that, okay, tomorrow's a new day and we're gonna try something different tomorrow.
It's beautiful. What great advice. I love that. You've been in this community most of your life, all of your life?
I grew up in Orchid and then I moved to San Luis for college and then to North County.
So, since this little area, the Central Coast, has been home for you for so long, and during your diagnosis, you already mentioned the resources you used, but what of all of those resources were you like hands down, please go out and explore this if you were talking to somebody who was just navigating the early waters of a cancer diagnosis? What's the one resource that really stuck out for you?
The cancer support community, Central Coast, is absolutely amazing. And they offer support for patients and their families. And it's no cost to the patients or their families. So it's a resource that anybody can access.
I love that. And I know that you're on the board. You mentioned that. Talk to me about a typical Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at Cancer Support and what that looks like if a patient's just coming in for the first time.
If a patient comes in, they will be greeted with a warm smile and please tell me about your story. Candace is the executive director there, and she is also a cancer survivor. So she connects with people as they walk through the door. And it's very, very common for her to greet someone and for the patient to break down in tears because it is an extremely emotional time for them. And she has a sitting area in the front and she'll direct them to the chairs and have a conversation with them about what they're going through and what they need. And then ways that cancer supports can help. There's therapy, there's group sessions, there's activities. So it's not limited to any one thing. We really try to cater to what the patient and their families need.
Love it. I love that. And I think it's just a rich resource that probably should be toted louder than it is right now. And we work with cancer support across the board. On the other side of the country, it's called the Gilda House still. And so we have orgs on that side of the country in Missouri and Minnesota that we work with. And then over here, obviously, all the programs are very similar. Seeing how it evolves and how it lives together and how it's nationwide, actually international, isn't it international? It is.
I know it's nationwide, but I don't know if it's international.
I can't remember. That would be something that I should probably look up. But the resources are just a wealth of information for cancer patients, and I'm really thrilled. All of our cancer partners here in this area, you cannot go wrong with, and they all need to be highlighted. And I love being here. I love knowing that it is what it is, and people are genuine and authentic and real, and you can be yourself. And I think during a cancer diagnosis, vulnerability is probably the one thing that's going to help you magnify your healing. And everybody here allows you to be yourself. That's a beautiful thing. I threw that last question at you, and I didn't even give you time to practice, and you answered it so beautifully because I wanted to give a lot of light to to cancer support anyway. And I said cancer community support earlier, and I know that it's cancer support, so I want to apologize to you. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
You do better when you just ask me questions.
Thank you.
One thing is I've never really been very open with my situation. I've always been pretty private about it. And when you asked to interview me, it took me a little bit to think if it was something that I was willing to put myself out there. And I actually asked my kids how they felt about it because I don't want them to be uncomfortable. And my daughter said, "Oh, Mom, I think you should do it because I think people need to hear other people's stories to know that there's hope." So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my story and kind of come out of my shell a little bit.
Well, we'd love to give you the opportunity as many times as you want it because your story is worth hearing. And I think it's very valuable to other patients, especially early on in diagnosis, to know that not only have you been in the trenches for 15 years almost now, but you're winning at life. And I know that's with God's grace too. And it's a really, really beautiful attribute that you share. And I wouldn't harbor that from people. You have a story to tell.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know that you probably, well, how's your son, first of all? Let me ask. Is wisdom teeth?
He had to have a root canal today.
Ugh. Those are the
I know. So I'll run and pick him up, and he was very sweet. Yesterday, he went and got my dry ice for chemo for tomorrow because he knew today he couldn't drive. So
what a
he's my
sweetheart.
sweet one. He
Yeah.
is. He has a very sweet, tender heart, and he's the one that always asks, "How you doing, Mom? How'd you sleep? Are you okay?" And he has a sense of humor, and he'll say, "Do you feel like you got hit by a truck today?" Yes, Brayden, I feel like I got hit by a truck today, and yeah, I can tell, but it's okay. He still brings his friends over. They walk in, and I'll tell them, "Oh, it's troll day, it's troll day." And they just laugh and wave and walk by, and no one seems to be very bothered by troll day at my house.
Love it. I love that. It sounds like both of your children are extremely caring. If
They
one's
are.
planning foods and the other one is making sure that you have your needs met, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Super excited for you. Well,
Thank
I
you.
don't have anything else, but I'm so happy that you sat down with me. I'm so thankful for this. Thank you. And I'd like to give a shout out to your mom.
I would love if you would give a shout out to my mom because I would not have gotten through this without her. I mean, she truly has been my rock and my person to vent to and cry and all of the good and the bad. And yeah, I could not have gotten through this without my mom. And I value her so much, and I feel like we've gotten so much closer, and it's amazing to think that now we have this bond.
Well, it's a testament to how she raised you too, for how you actually interact with each other. And then to be able to be each other's support systems. Wow, that's amazing. That's it's sad
Well,
that you had to endure it, but it's amazing that you had the support to get through it.
it really is, and I'm so blessed. And the doctor's office was so confused because 1 month I was coming in as the patient and she was my support, and then literally the next month we were in there again and she's the patient and I'm the support, and they were trying to connect the dots.
My gosh, it's too funny.
I know.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we will say prayers. I have actually my Bible right here. We'll say prayers for you for next week, but please keep me posted on everything that happens. And I've added you to that prayer list, and then I'll get all of this out to you probably tomorrow or Thursday.
Thank you, Candace. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you and your story. I thank you so much for taking this time. My best to all of your family, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks. Bye.